Welcome to this video where we are going to solve the startup process of the ISS1PlayTLM. The first thing we gotta do is to verify that the equipment is connected to the DC source, to an AC grid, and it is closed and turned on. The commissioning begins by opening the ISS1 monitor that we have previously installed in our Android or iPhone mobile phone. Next, we will type our user previously registered and the password. In case of not being registered in the application, we could carry out the commissioning without indicating any email or password. This is done by clicking on the icon in the lower right part that represents a mobile phone and a Wi-Fi network. If we have a registered user, the next screen is the home page where we will find all the plans that we have previously registered. In this case, it is empty. We will click again on the previous icon that appears in the lower right part to access the following screen. Two options will be displayed, and we will start with the second one. We get to see all the Wi-Fi networks generated by all the ISS1 inverters around our telephone. In this case, only the one from the inverter that we want to start up. The Wi-Fi network generated by this equipment has some characteristics that can be found in the upper part of the sticker on the inverter side. There is a second option that is easier and corresponds to scanning the QR code that appears on the same sticker. The advantage of doing it this way is that the application itself fills in the device ID and the password, which can also be found on the sticker, which are necessary to continue. Click on Enter and start with the Startup Wizard. The first thing we must choose is the type of installation. In this case, we will select self-consumption. The application asks us if we want to add a battery, but in this case we are not going to do it. On the next screen, the application asks us about the characteristics of the AC grid. We must indicate the contracted power and if we want to inject any surplus into the grid. If so, we will indicate the maximum power we want to inject into the network. The following screen allows us to select an external power meter in case we have one. This procedure is very simple and all you have to do is to scan the network and the application itself will configure the external power meter. In this example, we are going to use the internal watt meter of the inverter itself by clicking on the following tab. We click Next and we reach the following screen that shows us a summary of the configuration that we are about to send to the device. We will accept the configuration and this will be sent to the inverter. The next task is to configure how the equipment is going to communicate. On the first screen, we get to see the password that the device uses in the Wi-Fi network that generates itself and give us the possibility of modifying it. When we click on Next, we access the screen that allows us to configure the location of the inverter, the date and time. When we click on Next, the application gives us the possibility to connect the inverter to an existing Ethernet network or to a Wi-Fi network generated by an external router. We select the second option and we proceed to find the Wi-Fi network to which I want to connect. To do so, we search all the existing networks that appear along with the strength of the received signal. In this case, we are going to connect to the network whose SSID is router. We write the password manually and click on the Next tab. We accept, and at that moment, the inverter starts a connection process to the Wi-Fi network that lasts for a few seconds. During that period, we could see how the blue LED that we have on the front of the inverter starts blinking. When the blue LED remains fixed, we can conclude that this inverter is connected to Internet and to the ISS1 cloud. Next step is to register this system in the ISS1 monitor. To do so, we need a computer and a registered user. We access the application with that user and when we get to the home page, we will see all the plans that we have previously set up. In this case, we don't have any and what we are going to do is to create our first plant to which we will add this inverter that we have just commissioned. On the next screen, three options appear and we are going to select the one on the right. Despite the fact that the installation we have commissioned doesn't have batteries, we want to do it in this way because if we decide to upgrade the system with batteries in the future, we will not lose any data and the configuration process becomes more simple. We must indicate the name of the plant and when the operation started. our application is going to show data from that date. We must also decide if the system is domestic, commercial, or industrial. Generally, this type of inverters are used for residential applications, therefore we will select Home. The application requests the device ID and the password that we can find on the sticker on the inverter side. We type this data and then we click on Verify Connection. When we click on Continue, the next step asks us to geographically locate the plant. Next, we must decide if we want the application to send us alarm notifications. Before the last step, we must also decide if we want to receive daily or weekly reports with the production of the plant, which will be sent to the email or emails that we have decided and that appear in the box on the right. When we click on the Continue button, we access the last of the screens, where a summary of the plant that we want to configure appears, and if everything is correct, we will register the plant. When a plant is registered in the application, we can access it through a computer or through a mobile phone.